Hello viewers, my name is Mr. Nicholas Mutinde from Nairobi branch. I welcome you to our lesson today. Today we are going to discuss chapter 5, types of management styles, whereby we are going to discuss on the different management styles that different organizations apply in order to ensure that they achieve their organization objectives. We are going to start with management by objectives, then go to management by working around, then go to total quality management, and later on we discuss the scorecard, the use of consultants, and the creativity enhancement techniques. We're going to start with the first subtopic, management by objectives. And before we start, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel. It's free of charge. You just need to click on the subscription button there below the video. Welcome. So in chapter 5, we are going to talk about management styles. Management styles. Now, there are about six styles we are going to discuss, and we start with 5.1 MBO, all management by objectives. And when we are talking about management by objectives, we are simply meaning that an organization agrees on objectives. An organization agrees on objectives. So, management by objectives is simply meaning that where an organization identifies the objective that it is going to pursue, and then everyone is working towards achieving that objective. The management comes up, consults with employees, they jointly agree on the objectives of the organization, and then from there they can be able to work towards achieving that objectives. In a nutshell, this style is known as management by results. We are looking at the results. It is a process of defining objectives within an organization so that both the management, employees, and employees agree on objectives and understand what needs to be done. The management and the employees come together probably in the start of the year. They agree based on the performance of last year. We were able to increase to get maybe 20 million in profits. Can we be able to push this to 25 to 30 million? We had a market share of 15%. Can we be able to push this market share to 25%? Now, there is an objective that is agreed between the employees. And now, if we have agreed that we are going to increase our market share from 15% to 25%, we identify each of all the employees, what is your responsibility in ensuring that we achieve this objective? What are you required to do? If we are talking about the department, the human resource department, what is the human resource department required to do? What is the finance department required to do? What is the procurement required to do in order to ensure that we achieve the objective of raising our market share from 15 to 25%? So, in a national management by objectives or management by results, all the employees come together. They jointly agree on the objectives of the organization, and then now each of the employees works towards achieving that objective. Now, management by objectives also aims at improving performance of the organization. It aims at improving the performance of the organization. Now, another thing we can talk about when you talk about management by objectives is that it relies on the promise that the employees tend to perform better. Definitely employees will perform better when they were involved in setting up the objectives of the organization, when they were involved in coming up with the targets, when they were involved in drawing up the plans of the organization, definitely they will perform better. So it is good for the organization, it is good for top management to embrace or to jointly agree with the employees in coming up with the objectives, and then everyone will be working towards that objective. There will be, everybody is looking, is feeling appreciated, is looking towards achieving those objectives. Now, what are the features of management by objective? Number one features of management by objectives is that there is a superior subordinate participation. What are the features of MBO? What are the features of MBO? There is superior subordinate participation. Each one participates in coming up with the objectives. Each one is involved in coming up with the objective. Number two is there is joint goal setting. Joint goal setting. Remember, we have said that the employees and the top management come together and set goals. So there is joint goal setting. Number three is joint decision on methodology. Joint decision on methodology. Methodology to be used. How are we going to achieve our objective? Remember, when we are talking about from 15% to 25%, we have agreed that each one of the employees identifies what his responsibility is in order to ensure that the objectives of the organization are achieved. So in this case, you agree there is a joint decision on methodology. How are we going to achieve this? Which method are we going to use? And everyone is involved. Remember, the employees, when they have that consultation, they have those joint meetings to agree on the objectives. The employees can raise issues. No, remember, these are the challenges that we are facing. So if we use this method, it will be more easier to achieve the objectives. Everyone, there is a joint decision on methodology. Number four is make ways to attain maximum. They make ways to attain maximum results. What are the ways that we going to use in order to achieve? Which ways are we going to achieve? Which ways are we going to use in order to achieve the targets and the objectives of the organization? And then lastly, there is support from top management or superiors. There is support. Remember, you have set a conducive environment of consultation. So the top management will always be supporting, will be always eager, will always want to support their subordinate in order to ensure that they achieve the objectives as required. So there is a joint support. There is a support from the superior. There is a support from the management. The management is supporting those working under them in order to achieve the objectives. Now, what are the steps of MBO process? The steps of MBO process. The steps of MBO process. Steps of MBO process. Number 1 is review organization objectives. Organizational objectives. Review organizational objectives. You review. You go through. Are they attainable? Last year we got 15%. Can we be able to push that 20%? What was your performance? How can we do that? Number 2 is set employees' objectives, which should be jointly. Set employee objectives. And this should be done jointly with the top management. What is the responsibility of each employee? Each one of the employees, because remember, each one has a duty in ensuring that the objectives of the organization are achieved. So what is it that each employee is to achieve? What is expected of each employee? You jointly set the employee's objective. Number 3 is to monitor progress. Monitor progress. We have set objectives for the organization for the whole year. We have divided that into each one's employee key activities and objectives. Now, after the first month, we are supposed to come and monitor. Have you been able to perform? Have you been able to achieve what you are required? What were the challenges? How can you make sure that you be able? How can we support you? You monitor the progress of each employee's performance. You monitor the achievement of the objectives. Number 4 is evaluate performance. Evaluate performance. Yeah, you evaluate who has been able to achieve, who has not been able to achieve. Why did this employee X not achieve his objective? Why did the employee Y get to 50%? Why did the employee X go up to 80%? What were the challenges? What were the hindrances? How can we be able to remove those hindrances? How can we be able to address those challenges? You evaluate. And then lastly is reward. Reward employees. There, when we are talking about reward employees, definitely there is also a punishment. If employees have not been able to achieve their objectives, probably you need to punish them. Ama to know after if it is their fault. But if it is things that are beyond their control, probably there is little you can do. Now, having said that, having talked about the steps, we can quickly look at advantages and advantages of MBO. What are the advantages of MBO? What are the advantages of MBO? And number 1 is it promotes and develops a result-oriented philosophy. Promotes and develops a result-oriented philosophy. Advantages. There is a philosophy you bring to the organization whereby it is a result-oriented. Number 2, formulation of clear goals. Goals are clear. Everyone understands them. They are clear goals. Specific and measurable, which can be verified. Because everyone was involved. Where there were gray areas, employees were able to raise issues and understand them. Number 3 is it facilitates objectives appraisal. There is appraisal. Objectives appraisal. It facilitates objectives appraisal, since employees are appraised on the target they agreed to achieve. Number 4, MBO raises employees' morale. Correct. It raises employees' morale. If people are involved in coming up with their targets, definitely they will be motivated. They will be motivated. When somebody is supporting you to achieve your objectives, when somebody wants to understand why the issues you are going through, the reasons why you have not been achieved, definitely your morale will be super. Number 5, it facilitates effective planning. Effective planning. Because you already know what is required of you in the beginning of the year. So you can plan yourself. By end of January, I will be able to achieve this. By end of February, there is effective planning. Even the organization itself can be able to plan effectively because there are clear goals. Number 6, it facilitates effective control. Effective control. Employees can be able to control their program. They can be able to control their targets. And lastly, through a continued monitoring of progress, everyone is able to evaluate their individual performance. Each one is able to evaluate individual performance versus targets. So each employee is able to review. Now, what are the disadvantages of MBO? It overemphasizes on the setting of goals. Remember, anything that has an advantage probably definitely must have a disadvantage. And you find that when you're talking about MBO, it overemphasizes the setting of goals of a working environment. So when you're talking about you must achieve this, you must achieve this, you must achieve this, in most cases you might find you are not addressing the working environment. The working environment. Another disadvantage is that time consuming. It is time consuming. Remember, you are calling the employees who come and probably agree. So those time of coming and probably having that meeting may consume a lot of time. It may consume a lot of time. And then another thing is reward stop punishment. Remember, when you are rewarding people and punishing others, definitely it creates problem for some people. It may create some problem. So we find that there is pressure, consistent pressure on employees because of reward punishment approach. To create some pressure to some employees, to create some pressure to some employees. Now, I think that is all about MBO management by objectives. We can quickly go to management by walking around. Management by walking around. Mbwa. Management by walking around. Walking around, which is called Mbwa. Management by walking around. And when you are talking about management by walking around, we simply mean that the manager leaves his office and goes across the organization. He walks to the workers, he goes to the industries to talk to the workers, to interact with the workers, know their challenges, look at their working conditions, and be able to understand their working environment. And now to improve them. So this style advocates for managers making spontaneous visits to employees at workplaces. You make a spontaneous visit to employees at workplace. They check on employees and equipment through such random visits. So when you are going through the industry, when you are going through the employees, when you are going to talk with the employees, you can look at their equipment, their working conditions, and see what might be they are going through. Now, this is a powerful way for a manager to connect with the team members. This is a very powerful way for a manager to connect with his team members. To talk to them, to work with them, to ask questions, and to help when needed goes a long way in creating a rapport with the employees. You create a rapport whereby they can tell you probably when things are going wrong, and then when things are going haywire, when things are not working the same in the required speed, things are not going to the same direction. When there are challenges, they can always be able to share those challenges, and you find that you can be able to solve those challenges before they become emergencies, or before they become bigger problems. So this way creates a rapport. It's one of the powerful ways of ensuring that the environment is good. Now, MBA can also be an idea of open door management, whereby you talk to everyone. If you are MD and you are working within an industry, you can be able to interact with the askari, with the soldier, and know what are the challenges, and that is one of the ways of an open door policy. Now, by doing MBA management by walking around, what you intend to achieve? Number one is approachability. You create approachability. People can approach you at any time. You create an approachability. Those guys who will never get you into the office, they can see, they can approach you. Another thing is that it creates trust. It creates trust between the employees and their managers. You can imagine when a manager is going, probably taking lunch with the subordinate, the lower level employees. What that creates? It creates some trust. It creates trust between the employees, the subordinate, and the superiors. Number three, it business knowledge. It enhances business knowledge of the management. Remember, when things you are in the office, you may not know, you may not understand clearly what is on the ground. So when you are interacting with the employees on the ground, when you are seeing them operating the machines, you can get a wider knowledge, a wider business knowledge to know what is happening. Another thing is that it creates accountability. It creates accountability. It boosts morale. Morale booster. It boosts morale. And then it enhances productivity. How does it enhance productivity? It enhances productivity because the employees know you anytime you can walk into the industry. So definitely they will be working. Those guys who are inefficient, who are lazy, because they don't know when you will come, They will always be on their toes. So what are the advantages of management by walking around? It leads to immediate corrective measures. It leads to immediate corrective measures. Corrective measures. There is a problem. It does not need to go all through the processes, all the bureaucracy. Somebody you as a manager, you can give instant justice. Number two, informal discussions with employees could enhance morale. Yeah, we have talked about that, enhancing morale. Another thing is that the unstructured manner of visits enables managers to notice gaps in some systems that may not be noticed by employees. When you are walking around, you can be able to notice gaps which probably the employees themselves could never have noticed. You are waiting on the office for the employees to report unto you. They may not report everything. So when you are walking around, you can be able to notice gaps in the system. Another thing is that it improves organizational efficiency. Because some of the lazy employees, because they are expecting you anytime, they will always work. And very, very, very critical point, strengthens feedback system. Feedback system. Strengthens feedback system. You are able to get feedback from the employees. Feedback. Actually, that is one of the essential advantages of, key advantages of work management by walking around, because you are able to get feedback. Are the processes working? Are the procedures effective? Are they helping the organization or are they hindering the organization? You are able to get feedback. Now, I think that is all about management by walking around. We can talk about the third management style. 5.3. Here is what we call total quality management. 5.3. Total quality management. What we call TQM. Total quality management. And when we are talking about total quality management, we simply mean that the organization is more interested on the quality of goods and services. Quality of goods and services. Quality of customer service. You are more interested in how do we improve the customer service? How do we improve on the products we produce? How do we improve on the services we give out? How do we improve? Continuous improvement. Anything that you do, anything that the organization is doing is more geared to improving the quality of goods and services the customer is offering. Now, this is a style of management that consists of organizational-wide efforts to install and make permanent climate in which it continuously improves its ability to deliver high quality products and services to its customers. Continuously improves its ability to deliver high quality products and services to its customers. It's a continuous effort to ensure long-term customer loyalty. It's a continuous effort to ensure that customer satisfaction in terms of goods and services that you're offering. You want a continuous improvement in order to create a customer brand, customer loyalty, in order to create a brand that can be trusted. You are continuously improving on your goods. You are continuously improving on the services that you are doing. Any method, any processes, all the procedures are aimed at ensuring that you improve the quality of goods and services, the quality of the services you are offering. It is a continuous improvement. And every employee in the organization, what is his mind is what we are doing. Is it improving the quality? Is it improving the service we are serving? And probably something to note is that quality can be measured in terms of durability. Quality can be measured in terms of durability, reliability. Can people rely on your service? Can people rely on you for goods and services? Reliability, usage. Another thing to note about total quality management is that anyone is involved. Whoever gets a paycheck from the organization is involved in total quality management. And remember, there are people who get, if you are talking about suppliers, they get check from the organization. Employees, they get check from the organization. So every stakeholder, everyone who gets a paycheck from the organization has a responsibility to ensure total quality management is working towards that. Now, what are the pillars of TQM? What are the pillars of TQM? Top management direct responsibility for quality management. The pillars of this is that total quality management must originate from the top of the organization. There is no way it can originate from the middle or from the lowest. It must originate from the top. It must start from the top. The top management must be obsessed with TQM, and then now that obsession goes down to the employees. There must be study on customers in terms of requirements. There must be regular research on the requirements of the customer. What do our customers require? Because you can't improve something that you do not know. How do you know the customer requirements if you are not doing a research? So there must be a regular research on the customers in terms of their requirements, in terms of their, what do they need? Number 3 is continuous staff training and development. Continuous staff training and development. Staff must be upgrading their skills now and then. Upgrading skills, upgrading their training. There must be training to upgrade their skills, because you can't rely, for instance, you employed a person 5 years back, and then now you are talking about continuous improvement, yet the knowledge that he had has become obsolete. So it is a continuous improvement. It is a continuous improvement on training and development. Another pillar is about systematic analysis and improvement of work processes. That's one I think I need to write it. Systematic analysis systematic analysis and improvement of work processes. The work processes must always be analyzed regularly. Where do we need improvements? Where do we notice some gaps? We fill those gaps because we are talking about continuous improvement. So you must regular analysis of the work processes. What can we improve in this? Do we need these procedures? Do we need these methods? Can we be able? How do we ensure that the processes are working towards our objective of total quality management? And then probably lastly, quality improvement as a continuous effort conducted through the organization. So you conduct a continuous effort in all the systems. Now, what are the advantages of TQM? What are the advantages of total quality management? Number one, it helps to align the needs of the market. Remember, we are talking about serving the customers every now and then. So it helps to align the needs of the market. It helps to align the needs of the market. Number two, assures better quality management. Two, it ensures better quality performance in every way through promotion of proper work culture and effective teamwork. So there is a quality performance because there is serious regular analysis. Number three, it is aims at improving productivity. It aims improving productivity. Another advantage is that it helps in developing an effective combating strategy. Develop an effective combating strategy. So, combating strategy against competition. Against competition. So, you will always be ahead of the competition because you are always improving. So, there is a combating strategy in place at any given time. At any given time. And probably you need to look at those organizations which are doing good, which are performing better. The multinationals, you will find that they are ahead of the pack because there is continuous improvement. They don't wait. There is always continuous improvement in their processes, in their methods, in their procedures. Another thing is that it improves communication throughout the organization, and it helps to review the process and progress, which helps in guaranteeing never-ending improvement. Another very key advantage is that it eliminates wastages. It eliminates wastages because of the regular review. Because of the regular review. So, what are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? High implementation costs. High implementation costs. High implementation costs. High implementation costs because you are regularly reviewing. You are regularly doing research. Number two is that it requires extensive training of employees. Remember, the training of employees, it's costly and also takes time. And since we are talking about continuous improvement, employees must be trained regularly. So it requires extensive employee training. Another thing that it requires change in employees' mindset, and this change of employees' mindset will not always be embraced by employees. Some of the employees might be against it, so it requires change in employee mindset. It's also a long process. It's also a long process. Now, I think that is all about. TQM. We have talked about 3 methods, so there are remaining 3. So the 3 we're going to discuss in the next video. Thank you for watching, and kindly I remind you, please subscribe to my channel. It is free of charge. You just need to click at the subscription button there below the video, and you'll be able to get more videos. You will be able to get more of my videos in trying to understand about practice of management. So kindly subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching.